Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of the DrBicuspid.com podcast. My name is Kevin Henry. I'm the editor-in-chief for DrBicuspid.com, and I'm truly honored today to have a longtime friend on today and one of those thought leaders in the industry, and that is Dr. Marc Cooper. Dr. Cooper, how are you?
Well, would be a good description.
I'm glad. I have worked with you for years, and I've always appreciated your thoughts, and I know your thoughts are always very well thought out. And so I'm really honored today to talk to you about a topic that I think is going to get some interest from our readers for sure.
Happy to do that. Happy to do that.
So when I first met Dr. Cooper, we talked a lot about DSOs and what was to come, and you've always been on kind of that cutting edge of what is to come for the dental audience. And you've written a book, and I'm going to hold it up here if you're watching this on video. It's going to be Older to Elder: The Thinking of Becoming a Contemporary Elder. Dr. Cooper, what caused you to write this book? Let's start with that.
I got old.
There you go.
And then and then I had the experience of ageism. And it's interesting. It's pervasive. It's disabling. It's disempowering. And it's everywhere, all the time. And it's the condition in which you age in this culture. And it was like, oh, I see. This is a condition that could use some alteration. There's another parallel here is that for the last probably 30 years, I've been working in not only the dental industry, I've been working in the self-understanding industry for myself. So I got, oh, I see. Mm-hmm. I see how this culture sets this up. We are supposedly a first world country, and yet we have one of the poorest longevity and lifespan and health spans of the first world nations. France beats us by far. So, and when I look at dentists, and so we can talk specifically about that domain.
Right.
So one out of the death rate, mortality rate, I don't want to keep away from that word, people get freaked, but the mortality rate for dentists is pretty strong. They don't live as long as they could. I've read some stuff in the ADA. You have to know that my memory is somewhat slowed, so these numbers may not be as accurate as I speak them as they are now. But dentists, many dentists will not live into their 90s, and that's an interesting phenomenon. It's like, okay, what is that? Yeah. And I believe that the pathway that they've been given and the stress that they've been dealt and the musculoskeletal issues and the mental issues have not been addressed before they retire, and therefore they emerge much more strongly after they leave the profession, and they are harming.
You know, looking through your book, one of the things that jumped out to me was you have a section here and it talks about disappearing. And you even reference the art of disappearing. And as we age, how our focus and who we are perceived as changes so much. So my question to you is, because I want to focus on the dentist side of things. When a dentist retires, he or she loses so much of who they were professionally because they're no longer that person. How do things change in your mind once that retirement hits?
So, number one, I can describe some things that will occur is they'll be so excited to stop being at the chair. It's like, okay, freedom at last, free at last. And they have all these extraordinary plans of what they'll do with their free time. And, the cruises and the travel and the Louvre and the grandkids and the beach and the time to go out to eat with all that. And but after 16, 18 months, something begins to show up, and this is universal, which is a kind of despair, a kind of, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know I can't do more of that. My grandkids are teenagers now. I can't do more of that. So now what? So what's missing is purpose. And for most of the time, the kind of purposes that they've served have been conventional purposes. You know, get a job, make money, do great dentistry, do your courses, keep up with your CE. They were always on that purpose. But you can't go back and use a commercial purpose for the next stage of life. You have to find a higher purpose. And most don't know how to do that because they're stuck going back to the past where you're obsolete and you're isolated and you're marginalized and you're not seen, you become invisible. Yeah. But there's a way that I think to come into the world that isn't dictated by the culture or the psychology that we currently have, but by what I call a creative future or the future of an elder, being an elder. And so I would think that, and I do have relationships with, I still have clients, and what we're working on is how to, this exact phenomenon, which is, well, now what? And who am I now? And what am I going to do with my life? So when you've been purpose-driven your whole life, and then it's like, okay, there's no net here. What's that? And you've jumped because you can't stop aging.
You know, when you and I first started talking about this subject, and I knew that you were going to be on the podcast, I started thinking how we prepared dentists and dental team members for financial security after they retire. But I don't know that we're preparing for the emotional and the physical side of things, as you just mentioned. And when that 12 to 18 months hits and all of a sudden that light bulb comes on that things have truly changed.
Yes. But, once you hit the exit door, nobody cares. It's the way it is in our, we are a materialistic, youth-oriented, more is better, let's get it now, let's all that. Immediacy. But when you walk out the door, you can't contribute back into that. There's no room, there's no invitation. Because you're seen as disposable at that point, and it's not bad. That's not going to change. What has to change is who we are as we age, as opposed to being a dictate to that.
I want to read something from the back of your book that has jumped out at me, and I want to get your take on it because it says, and I'll quote, "From Older to Elder," the name of the book, offers an invitation to those with the courage and curiosity to become contemporary elders on a mission to positively impact personal, business, and political conversations, not with despair, but with the self-knowledge and wisdom that we've acquired through the years. And I love that part because I think so often I have heard from friends who have retired that they don't feel like they have anything to contribute still. But we've built up all this wisdom through the years, and that's where you really want these men and women to become the elders in the society, correct?
I think there's a disability for people to convert their knowledge and experience into articulatable wisdom.
Okay.
One of the things that I'm working on is how do you language this wisdom in a way that is heard by people who do not have it, so that it impacts people. If you sit down with Mother Teresa or Picasso or Einstein on the bench, you would have a different conversation with who that persona is. And what I'm up to when I call what is a contemporary elder is someone would sit on the bench with that would have that kind of view of that person. That would be an elder.
I think so often we think about that we have to mentor people, but and correct me if I'm wrong, mentorship and being an elder sounds like two different things. Am I correct?
They're distinct. So I have some background being with Aboriginal and Native American elders. And when you are sitting in a circle or in a kiva or wherever you are with them, there's a certain occurrence, a phenomenon in which people sitting around the elder become more quantumous, they become more softer, they become more compassionate, they become more community. So elders bring a certain environment that allows for change to happen in a way where it's for the common good, it's for the future of the community, it's for something beyond, it's more value driven. And that's missing in we're in the political season, it's totally gone now. But it would make such a difference to have elder in the world that we live, but it's not present now at any level.
So is it something that, and I know that this is probably going to be an answer that could take an hour to respond to. How do we prepare to be an elder and whenever we know that this is going to be part of the cycle of after retirement, what comes next?
I have a number of dentist clients, as I said, that are going through this next phase actually they're members. I don't have clients anymore. They need to go through a learning process. They need to go through a development process. They need to understand, oh, that's elder. That's what that means. And then they have to go practice. They have to go out there and practice being an elder, and they have to bring back what they've learned out of their practice until, oh, I see. So let me give you a succinct example. Mm-hmm. So when I used to be in conversations way back there, unbeknownst to me, I would always have a kind of competition going on to be as good as or better than. And so the relationship I had that come from be as good as or better than wasn't a relationship of real caring because I was competing. But when I became an elder and I kind of went, oh, that doesn't bring me into a life that is rewarding when I'm trying to do that. But when I do this, I feel better about being with that person. I hear them better. I care more, and I feel freer. And so there's something about when I'm an elder in an interaction that allows me to be in that interaction with more peace and grace and equanimity, and for me, Jewish humor, because I think that's important. But yeah, so elder is a way of being in the world. This will put a kind of cherry on the top. If I'm being an elder and I am around people, they will want themselves to have those qualities in their life. And that's what I think elders can contribute.
So I'm going to flip the coin on you for just a minute. And we know that this is a choice to become an elder, to have this vision of yourself. What if you don't? What if you choose to not be this person in our society?
Some won't. Mm-hmm. Most won't. Because it takes courage to be other than you have been in your past. You have to give up some things. You have to give up what you think you know. Because my father had a great expression, if you're so smart, why aren't you rich? And so I thought, that was like, oh, yeah, that's a lesson that I have learned, if I'm so smart. So there's people that I'm working with a particular PR company, an agent and marketing company and all that stuff right now, which is way over my head and scares the hell out of me. But I know my audience, and the audience who would come over to this side to become an elder, they also have pretty high level of consciousness. They work on other things besides their dentistry and getting better and their economics and all of that. They're also interested in self-understanding. So they've already been over to that side a bit more. And they've also come to that point in their life where they go, what's next for me? I want to go out with a light, not a darkness. I want to have a life to live for. I want to have that available. And so they're working on that. They're going to TED Talks and the profiles are pretty accurate for who I'm looking for. So they would be, in this case, they would be dentists who have practiced their 45 years. They've retired at age 69. They have enough transition either through a DSO or through a partner who realize that there's a larger calling for them that they can't quite envision yet, but they know there's a pull. They would feel a pull. So that's who would come look at this elder conversation seriously. Others will blow it off like they have done with many things. It's okay. You only need 20% of the population to cause a change. So I'm not going for the whole. I'm just going for the people that are ready.
So, what was that aha moment for you when you realized that this was going to be not only your life's work, but also something that you wanted to be that elder as well?
Okay. This is a tell one of myself story.
All right.
Okay. So I'm still engaged. I'm just exiting the DEO, and I'm in the same conversation like, what's next for me? Parallel, I've been in doing conversations with elders in many different areas, and I've been engaged in that, but it was more interest than it was professional expression. And I'm, of course, always on LinkedIn, and being a dentist myself and having consulted in that industry for 40 years, I still like to look at stuff and what's going on. And there was a podcast, and it was interesting. It was about the company, the DEO, and one of the principals was speaking, and my name came up. You know, when your name comes up, you listen differently. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, yeah. And he said, and the host asked, well, what's Marc Cooper? What's Marc Cooper's involvement in the DEO now? And what he said was, oh, you know, he's 72.
Mm.
And the way he said it was like, oh, I had a direct experience of ageism at that point. It was like, boy, you don't know, man. If you knew that by 2030, 20% of the population is going to be over 65, and if you knew that by 2025, 45% of the population will be over 65, 10,000 people go over 65 every day. It's the fastest growing population in the country. It's got 80% of the wealth of the country.
Wow.
So I think elder inside of that will have a leverage to be able to bring what elders bring, which is peace and equanimity and kindness and compassion and the things that everybody feels are missing in our culture today.
When you were saying those words, I was thinking that's what we need,
Yeah.
especially right now. It feels like that is definitely what we need.
I got the right job.
Well, and I'm thankful that I'm still connected with you and that you're still out there making change. I think that is such a great thing. Dr. Cooper, would you let our audience know where they can learn more about you as well as what you're
Oh,
doing?
absolutely. My book will be publicly launched on October 1st, so I'll be on Amazon.com. That's a good place to start. I think it has people think in the language of an elder. And then they go, that will change how you see yourself and you see your future life. I have two websites. I have an author website, drmarkbcooper.com, and I have a entity called the Contemporary Elder Institute, which has a number of programs and consulting entities. And that is requestingwisdom.com. Lastly, let me just say what we talked about. Wouldn't it be great if the dental profession saw to prepare people for what you said is after their career, they're missing an asset. The wisdom that's available isn't fed back into the entity, and that's because of the generational differences. But it would be great if you took some of those guys that you bought their practice and you gave them this is their last 3 years and now their payout and they're gone and they didn't want to be, and they actually don't want to be there anymore anyway. And what would that be like if you could nurture that so that the people coming in actually got some wisdom about how to deliver not only great care, great patient care, and how to manage teams? That would be amazing.
It would. And I think, not only do we need the kindness and the understanding in today's age, we also need that business knowledge that is able to be passed down and not forced upon somebody, but welcomed. And I think that is such an important distinction. So,
Yeah, we're a knowledge thriving culture, but we're not a wisdom thriving culture. We're wisdom doesn't occur for people as a missing in the way they think about work and life. But they, as you said, it would be very useful in today's world.
Thankful that you and I are still connected. I'm thankful that I still get a lot of wisdom from you about what's going on in our industry, and I truly appreciate this. And absolutely, I want to just make sure I got an advanced copy of this book. I'm very thankful for that. Older to Elder. It has me thinking. I will tell you that about what the future holds for me. So, Dr. Cooper, thank you so much for your time today. I really
You're
do.
so welcome. Take care, Kevin.
Absolutely. And thanks to all of you who listened to this episode of the drbycuspid.com podcast. Hey, we like to make you think. I love to have people on like Dr. Cooper who have a view that is going to challenge the way that you look at every day as well as what is to come for your future. Till next time, it's Kevin Henry, host of the drbycuspid.com podcast and editor-in-chief, signing off, wishing you nothing but success ahead.